Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very, very, very special edition in regards to, well, basically the internet and what's going on the internet itself. Especially, I'm going to do a little segment on Philippines community that they go around accusing people of things that probably aren't true. But more importantly, we're going to do basically what is it about the internet that allows people to say half truths and or lies or cut up someone else's videos to make them appear to be a liar in the same fashion that politicians take sound bites from other politicians' speeches. You can, in theory, if you're a good editor and you have good editing skills, you can make anyone look foolish on the internet, anybody. But then we have to go to what the facts are. And if the person you're trying to make foolish look foolish can prove that what you said is not the truth. So this week, I have been attacked by several different bloggers, so shall we say, and or troll accounts of people that don't have videos on the internet and say anything they feel like saying. And it got to the point where, let's just say, it was absurd. So what I decided to do today was to take a few key notes of what was said about me in various vlogs and various places on the internet, and I decided to show you proof, which will basically make you understand that I, Michael Fazio, am telling you the truth, and that the people, the bloggers, commenters, YouTubers, Philippines, genre bloggers, whatever, they are not telling you the truth. So I don't know exactly where to start. Flying Circus. Now, he's talked about a great video editor. Flying Circus is one of the greatest YouTube creators in the history of YouTube, along with another fella who goes by the name of, or did go by the name, I'm not sure if he still makes videos, Dick Insider. These guys are editing geniuses. So, and I will tell you, I have much regard for both of them in regards to their editing skills. So you could cut that up and say, I have much regard for Dick Insider, and then you will show something that Dick Insider might have been a little aggressive or a little abusive, but I am saying that I have much regard for Dick Insider and Flying Circus as far as their editing skills are concerned. So you could theoretically, if you're a good editor, you could take a sound bite and put that in a different light, so to speak. But the light of day shall shine. So the big lie that I heard this week on YouTube. Now, there are big lies, then there are bigger lies, and then there are the biggest lies. So do we do this monetarily, which are the biggest lies, or do we do this in alphabetical order, which have been the biggest lies perpetrated against Michael Fazio this week, or do we do it in a random order and just prove that the four biggest lies that have been perpetrated against me on YouTube this week are totally false? So I'm going to do it in a monetary. I'm going to do the first one as the highest monetary blog that I have. In fact, what I was accused of was never owning a house in Key Largo, Florida, and that I never owned anything when I actually had my name on 3 different properties in Key Largo, Florida. But we're only going to talk about my house. because I don't want to get my business partners involved or my ex-business partners involved in any YouTube drama. So what I will tell you, for you people out there that are researchers, now I have had in the last year and a half people researching my background to the umpteenth degree to find out some kind of illegal activity or dirt, so to speak, so that they could post it on YouTube. But they couldn't come up with anything other than a few adjudicated cases, which means I was not guilty. There was a mistake in the court system. They realized there was a mistake, and then the cases were adjudicated with no charges filed. So I could, oh my God, Jack Thompson is here. Jack. So, wow, that's a surprise. Thank you for stopping by, Jack. Thank you, Jack. I know what you're going through, and I know what you're going to take the time out to stop by my channel. I appreciate that. Let me put my glasses on so I can see the comments. Look at Jack. He still has a wrench. Tom Sock for you, sir, Michael. Thank you, Marino CMTV. Thank you very much. Salamat. Flying Circus, good evening. I bow to Mr. DNC. Now, even Flying Circus, in his, and I will tell you that Flying Circus has great editing skills. DNC still probably is one of the best editors on YouTube. And it's sad that he's not there. They start already. I put it in the description box that the once again the super chat button is working, and Jack hits me up big with a $4.99, and we're going to bang a pot, and we're also going to talk about super chat. And those of you who have a super chat button on your page and you have not gone through the BIR process to get your taxes recorded, I would imagine that somebody's going to report you. So if you have a super chat button on your page and you don't have paperwork from the BIR, I would suggest you get that super chat button off your page, because it's going to get you into trouble. So let's find the money symbol, because money, bang a pot. Bang a pot means make a lot. So let's bang the pot, because the pot, this is the most famous pot that's ever hit the airwaves on YouTube, probably in the whole world. This is the most famous stainless steel pot, probably on planet Earth or plain Earth, whatever you want to choose to call it. So let's bang a pot, because we just made more money than a lot of YouTubers will make in a month. We just made it in a matter of about whether or not I owned a house, I should have a flipping gold wrench. You know what I could do, Jack? I looked for gold spray paint. Do you know that they don't have gold spray paint in the Philippines? They do not have gold. I was looking for that gold fleck spray paint, the ones that you spray it on. It looks like it's glittering gold. They have a yellow. They have a brownish yellow. They have a yellowish brown, but they don't have gold. And I was the golden wrench for you this week. I have it written down. Now, a month, I have looked in several hardware stores. So when I get that, let me write it down again on my new list, because I make lists like I make notes. I'm going to put it down again. There is gold spray. All right, I wrote it down. So thank you, Mr. Willis. Mr. Willis. Now, Mr. Willis, I hope that you enjoyed my boo video. I hope that you got to see that yesterday. Send that out to some of my special friends. And Mr. Willis has been a person that I have had many very, very enjoyable conversations with over the last year and a half or so. And Mr. Willis is an unbelievably perfect gentleman whilst talking to him in real life, which is a pleasure to do, and something I offer certain people. Most of my Patreon members I have actually spoken with. There are a few new Patreon members that I have requested their phone number, and for whatever reason, possibly because they're not in the United States, they couldn't send me a number. But I welcome my new Patreon members. I won't mention their names. And I also want to let you guys know that even the Patreon members that came in at certain monetary levels, I'm sending out certain videos to you privately because you have fulfilled your subscription obligation. But I still make the offer to talk to my Patreon members in person if you have a question. I also can explain to you quicker ways to work the site on Patreon. But in order for me to do that, it's easier if I speak with you in person. So, Mr. Willis, thank you for stopping by, and thank you for your support for about 18 months now, if I remember correctly. And thank you for the great conversation. So I'm going to move on. We're going to talk about the biggest lie on the internet is that Michael Fazio never owned a house in Key Largo. Now, I can debunk that, and I don't want anybody to mention names, but I can debunk that in 4 different, or 5 different ways. Oh my God, we're banging a pot again. Soon as they hear the pot, they like to make a lot. And I will tell you that the $50 super chat the other day from the shill, whose real name is Jay, and hasn't posted anything in 9 months. I did go back to Jay's channel. That super chat came in, and the next super chat after that came in as well. So thank you very much. The super chat button is working again. That's another lie. There's another lie in regarding super chat. YouTube did in fact steal 800 and if I wanted to, I could go back and show you Warren Hunt's 500 and two $100 super chats that I never received, and I could go back to that month. I could also show you other super chats for 150 and an additional one for $50 that I never received, and show you the revenue on YouTube. YouTube stole $860 from me. As far as you people are concerned, I'm a liar about that too. So let's debunk the ones we can debunk. First thing I want to show you, well, we got to bang a pot, because banging a pot is another thing. So that when you people want to try to make me look like that I might possibly be crazy, this pot, to make you understand, and anybody else that watches these videos, this pot right here with the money symbol on it has earned me approximately, by banging the pot, approximately 100,000 pesos in the last year. Now, you show me another pot on YouTube, stainless steel pot, that has earned 100,000 pesos. I don't think you can. But more importantly, I have seen other people bang a pot and nothing happened. I've seen people bang a pot and not make a lot. But when I bang a pot, people listen. So we're gonna say salamat to Jack Thompson again. Banging a pot has made me a lot, but it's probably made quite a bit more. But I'd have to go through each video. But we're on a conservative level. Banging a pot makes a lot, but what you have to know, you have to have the skill set to bang a pot properly. And there is a proper way to bang a pot, and I'll show you what that is right now. Bang a pot. And we always sing the thank you song, almost always. Thank you. See, that pot has a sound. That pot has a sound like a Zen Buddhist temple gong. It's a very, 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 very high-end sound. So banging a pot has made a lot. So you people out there, keep in mind, I could name 4 other bloggers that put a pot on their head. First of all, it wasn't stainless steel in 2 cases. Second of all, the pot barely fit over the person's head. Third, they didn't bang a pot with the proper spoonage or spoon. And fourth, they don't know how to bang a pot. Even the same way when I built decks, the contractors never copy my deck work, and they couldn't because they didn't have the skill sets to build a proper deck or the lumber or the tools. So let's see what Jack has to say. And then we're going to go back. I'm going to prove to you beyond any doubt that I, in fact, owned a house in Key Largo, even though you have heard some absurd story that I didn't own a house in Key Largo. I will tell you that I owned a house in Key Largo, and I will prove it to you momentarily. As soon as I find my glasses, that is. Lost my glasses. Okay. Well, you know what I'll have to do? I'll just have to get a different path. So, I see wordsmithing. Scott Del Fuego. Silver is the new gold. Okay, I could do that, Jack. Silver is the new gold. I can do that. I'll get it silver. There are so many things that are hard to get in the Philippines. 4 months, I looked for Van Turner, LOL, Salamat. For 4 months, I looked for a duplicate key making place, and they kept telling me it was next to the BQ Mall. I looked everywhere, and then just last week, I found a little booth about 3 feet wide, 4 feet wide, in front of the BQ Mall. It's a man standing on the sidewalk that makes duplicate keys. In all of Tagbilaran, there is just key maker, and his name is Christopher, and I have a video on my homepage about that. So let's see what the I'm not even going to get to the proof of ownership, but I will. If I can, I will. This man has studied aviation, jet mechanics, and become licensed. That's correct. So there is another lie on the internet that I do not have my A, airframe, and P, power plant jet mechanics license. To look up in the Federal Aviation Administration records, Michael Thomas Fazio, FAA, licensed airframe and power plant jet mechanic, 2 licenses issued in the year 1973, power plant, 1974, airframe. So that's another lie debunked. Now, I'm not going to show you my A&P license, although I have a copy of that, because it has my social security number on it. But if you want to look it up, or if you can find an agency that can look it up for you, you will see that in high school, I got my power plant license, and in what is called the extended 12th, another 6 months of schooling and testing, I got my airframe license. So I am still to this day, right now, today, licensed to work on any aircraft anywhere in the world, including helicopters, once I get certified up to date on the schematics and the workings of those frame systems. Still to this day, an airframe and power plant jet mechanics license is good for life. Now, that's different than a private pilot's license, where you have to have a certain amount of hours and you have to be reevaluated yearly, and you have to also have a medical exam. But the FAA license is good for life. So that's another story debunked, that I'm not a mechanic, or I know nothing about plane, jet, and airframe and or power plant mechanics. So we got to bang a pot quickly for Jack Thompson, and let's see what Jack had to say, because I'm a pot addict. Oh my God. So let's give Jack Thompson a little stainless steel pot. Salamat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Salamat. Thank you. So for those of you out there that don't know how to bang a pot, or have been unsuccessful in your pot banging career. Could it be that number one, you don't know how to bang a pot? Could it be that? It could be that. Number two, you have the wrong kind of pot to bang. You don't know how to find the proper a proper pot has to be able to fit over your head. If the pot doesn't fit over your head, it doesn't quantify or qualify as a pot. So I'm going to read Scott Del Fuego, Wordsmithing, who the only person that comes close to Scott Del Fuego's ability to discern the English language properly is Jack Thompson. So even though Jack Thompson is a licensed contractor, his English skills and understanding of the English language supersedes mine tenfold. I'm not real keen on what a verb or a consonant or a break, I have a tendency to write run-on sentences. But Jack Thompson, his English major in college was, so he could have been a teacher of English. That's how good his skills are. He knows the words, what a synonym is, and he knows what all the different words that have to do with the real words, what a run-on sentence is. Jack Thompson is a genius, only surpassed by the great Scott Del Fuego, who I hear is being doxxed on YouTube. I don't think that's a good idea, but if you choose to put Mr. Scott Del Fuego's name on YouTube and in a derogatory manner, that's up to you. Mr. Willis, don't come to the Philippines then. Okay, so we have some things. This man has studied aviation, jet mechanics, and become licensed. This man has built an ocean-worthy wooden boat as a team. I did that. I built a 21-foot cabin cruiser in my teenage years, and I put the boat in the water July 3rd of 1976. I did that, and I have proof of that. So I also built 6 airplanes, experimental, that Mr. Karp flew out of Aviation High School in the 1970s. Another sentence at the end, this man has founded a company building decks and docks. So I did have, and I'm going to show you videos. Oh, well, we didn't do the house yet, but I have been accused of never owning a barge or crane service. I have videos up on my tabs proving that I owned a barge called Barge Dragon, Dragon. I bought that from Mike Wills in Traverse City, Michigan on May 15th of 1988. It's a 30 by 50 self-propelled barge, which I brought from Traverse City, Michigan to New York Harbor. I used the barge I arrived in New York Harbor on August 2nd. I used the barge from August 2nd until December 12th, I think, of 1999, where I put the vessel underway and brought the vessel by myself from Traverse City to New York, 30 by 50 barge traveling through 33 locks and bridges by myself. Well, I had a captain for about 100 miles, and he ran me aground. So I let him off in a town called Port Austin. And I continued from Port Austin, Michigan to New York by myself. On August 2nd, I arrived in New York. I ran the barge, piloted the barge, captained the barge by myself. I captained. I had other men working for me in my deck and dock building company. I built decks, docks, and bulkheads. Before I bought the barge, I was just decks and docks. When I bought the barge, I started building bulkheads. So Scott Del Fuego is correct in that I did own a barge. Then on December, I think it was 12th. Yeah, might have been the 12th or maybe the 10th. I left New York Harbor by myself at 5:30 in the morning, and I brought that barge from New York Harbor to Miami, Florida, and revamped the barge for Nicholas Cripps. Nicholas Cripps. of Orange Creek Marine Service on Cat Island in the Bahamas. I revamped the barge in Miami. I put he needed extra batteries to be brought to Cat Island for his heavy equipment company. I loaded up a couple of the cargo containers inside, underneath the deck of the barge with Nicholas Crip supplies. I changed some of the apparatus on the barge around, and then I prepared the barge to bring from Miami, Florida to Cat Island, and where I was assisted by a lobster boat from Cat Island, because the current in the Gulf Stream was several knots and the barge would not be able to go against the current to get to the Cat Island. It was a slow moving barge, but it was self-propelled, but it would not go against the 7-knot current through the Gulf Stream. So that's another lie debunked, that I never owned a barge, and I have video of all of this. So this will quell, or squash, because a lot of things are going to get quashed soon in this video. This will quell anybody's disbelief in whether or not Michael Fazio owned Barge Dragon. So after Scott Del Fuego, we had Jack Thompson. He's a pot addict, stainless steel pot, that is. Van Turner, don't come to the Philippines then. I'm not real sure where that came from, but let's see. Mr. Willis, hello, Mike. Thanks for your reply. I gave you one too. Thank you, Mr. Willis. Okay, so I don't know what Van Turner is talking about. Don't come to the. Oh, maybe there was somebody I can't see because they're blocked. Thank you, Van Turner. Mr. Willis said Mike has a supreme intellect in all trades. I would like to learn from him. He would be the best guy to learn from. So this is a gentleman that lives. I'm not going to tell you where Mr. Willis lives, but we have nice conversations. Any of my Patreon members that wish to know how to do any kind of construction, if I can help them with, and they ask me a question. Scott Del Fuego had a question in regards to an electrical problem. In 45 seconds, I gave Scott a workaround that an electrician would have ripped up Scott's walls, and with no repairs. I gave Scott a workaround for that electrical problem 45 seconds after he posed the question, and it worked. And it still works to this day without tearing up any walls or spending any money. All it cost Scott was a piece of wire about this long for a problem that an electrician may have taken a sawzall to his walls and followed the wire through his entire house to the outside lighting fixtures. So you people think, anybody on YouTube that thinks I can't or have not been a contractor for my entire life, that's a fallacy. I could show you my licenses, but when the time comes, I have all my construction licenses. So Mr. Willis and I have had pleasant conversations about construction and about the Philippines. And that is a service that I provide for my Patreon members. So thank you, Mr. Willis, for the compliments. We're going to go to Scott Del Fuego's, and then we're going to try to get to my proof of ownership of my house. Scott Del Fuego says, okay, so Scott is, I'll preface this with, this is an addition to his first comment, which was the best in New York City. So I will tell you unequivocally, no one in New York City or anywhere else ever had my deck and dock building skills. No one. People tried to stand on the property next door to my decks and docks. People came on the property. Other contractors that were friends of mine came onto the property of my decks and docks. No one could ever match the skill sets I had with building deck and docks. No one. There has never been, to this day, no one has ever come up with the ability to do the work I did in the time I did it in, and the quality of workmanship that I used to do the deck and dock building. Now, I can say that, and I can prove it by the pictures and videos I have of decks and docks I built in the 1980s that still stand to this day. So that makes them 40 years, because the quality of the lumber I used was a lumber quality that only one company in New York State provided, and at that treatment process, it's called number 1, grade A, dense, select, 0.60 treatment, longleaf yellow pine. Only one company in New York State in the 1980s provided that. It wasn't much more than the standard deck and dock building lumber that other lumber companies had, but there was a difference in how the lumber was cut, how many annular rings it had per inch, and the treatment process that was used to treat the lumber. So I could explain that to you, but the fact that my decks are still standing 40 years later is proof in and of itself. So the wood was treated with CCA, copper chloride, and arsenic. It had, on average, 12 to 16 annular rings per inch. So in a 1.5 inch thick board, you might see 16 to 25 annular rings. That's why it was called dense. Select, it was called select grade A dense lumber because it had no knots. It didn't have any knots. You could get what is called a unit. Most people don't know what a unit is. That's 4 foot wide, 4 foot high, and the length of the boards. You could get a unit of boards and you would not see a single knot. Pin cluster knots sometimes, but that wood had basically no knots in it at all. And any knots that existed were called pin cluster knots, and they were less than 1/8 of an inch in diameter. Then I put the boards down crown up. I didn't flip-flop the boards crown up, crown down, whatever side looked the best. I put the boards crown up, so when they cupped down and the rain walked off of them, instead of putting the board upside down where the rain sits in what is called the heart lumber, H-E-A-R-T, heart lumber, and then that water sets into the spongy heart section of, and then that makes the wood bow up or cup up even more. So I had skill sets that went far beyond any other deck builder, and I used hot dip galvanized bolts with timber head bolts, which is a 2-inch head as opposed to a 1-inch head on the bolt. Nobody could come close. I'll stand by that till this day. And the people that make fun of my deck and dock building skills couldn't even, well, they can't do anything. They're just not deck and dock builders. I mean, it takes a certain understanding of lumber, which I got from my aviation days. It takes an understanding of mechanics. You also have to own tools. If you don't own tools, hard to be a deck and dock builder if you don't own a lot of tools. And to be a bulkhead builder, you need a crane barge. So we're going to debunk the story that I never owned a barge. We're going to do a lot of squashing this week. So let's go back to the Scott Del Fuego. The Scott Del Fuego says, the deck and docks preface, which were the best in New York City. This man has owned heavy machinery. Okay, so let's go through the list before we go. I owned a 25-ton Lorraine crane before I bought my barge. I had a forklift that I would move lumber around for a short period of time. It came from a Home Depot, one of those ones with 3 wheels. Then I bought a crane barge with a self-propelled crane barge, twin 671s, Detroit diesels into a Murray and Togertha 07 stern drive unit with a 6-ton Bantam crane. After a year or so, I realized that crane wasn't big enough. Bought a 35-ton Lorraine crane, cut the Bantam up, put it to the side in a yard, and then I loaded the 35-ton Lorraine crane on the barge with a man named Peter Powell, a Chinese man who helped me do that because I ordered lumber and built his deck and didn't charge him for the service because we were friends. Then I used that barge to build bulkheads with. So I will show you the videos of Barge Dragon in a minute, but let's go through the Scott Del Fuego wordsmithing here. An ocean racer. Scott is saying this man owned a heavy machinery. Oh, aside from the barge, I owned excavators, backhoes, bobcats, and dump trucks, and a small drill rig for a bobcat. That's just, and 3 different trenching machines. But of course, I will prove this to you. I can show you this equipment, but let's move on. An ocean racer. Now there, see, I was going to do the house first, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a little something for the people out there, especially the people that may or may not be telling you the truth about as to whether or not I owned an SR311 Formula Ocean Racer. So I have that tab up. I'm going to give you a little slap on the hand there for not telling the truth about whether or not I owned an Ocean Racer. You can go to this video. I'll give you the title, copy the title down. I might even put it in the description box so that you could see. This is the day I sold the boat. And the name on the side of the boat is Time Backhoe, which was the name of my company in Key Largo, Florida. That's another story debunked. Another debunked and quashed story. Time Backhoe. And I'm going to show you that page too. So let me show you the page of the boat being sold. The name of the video is Rabbi Jew Barker sells his Formula SR311 Ocean Racer. On the side of the boat, I had a decal that was named Time Backhoe. On time, and then I had a picture of a backhoe over here. Let's get that picture expanded so that we'll get all this nonsense out of the way. So do you people believe that I didn't own an Ocean Racer if the name is on the side of the boat? Well, at the 54-second mark, you're going to see the boat, and this is the man who one of the men that bought the boat, and you're going to see me selling the boat from the front of my house in Key Largo. So I'll go down in the screen size, and then I'm going to open up another tab that says Time Backhoe Key Largo. So this is, you saw the name on the side of the boat. Let me give you the name of the, let me give you the name of the video so that you can go out there and see the name of the boat that I was selling the boat, that the man was agreeing that he bought the boat. And this was the documentation that I sold that boat for legal reasons, that I sold the boat in a legitimate manner with a bill of sale to that man. Okay. And there's a reason that I did that like that, because he wanted a video so that no one could ever claim the right to that boat again. So if I made a legitimate video and myself that the boat was sold, he would have proof that he bought the boat legitimately. And I wanted him to have proof that he bought the boat as well, because the boat has a very distinct shall we say, reputation, ocean racers. So, okay, so I put the name of that video in there 3 times. So now I'm going to go to a link that's Time Backhoe. Okay, so now here is a link that proves that On Time Backhoe belonged to Michael Fazio, and that On Time Backhoe was the name of my excavation company in Florida. So I heard a story this week that I never owned heavy equipment. So if you take On Time Backhoe Key Largo, which I'm going to put in the description box, and I'm going to bring it over to my live stream. If you put that in to the description box and Google it, you'll come to about 20 different results for On Time Backhoe located at 31 North Channel Drive, Key Largo, which was my home. So I'm going to go back to that content again, and I'm going to show you something that proves that not only did I own a heavy equipment company in the state of Florida, and not only was I licensed to do excavation, but this particular job, On Time Backhoe digging coral rock for new Hess gas station. So the person or persons or bloggers or commenters out there that made commentary this week that they don't believe I own that right now, because without ownership of this company and without the proper insurance that went along with the ownership of the property, I could not do state, county, and or gas station trenching and or excavation, which I did all 3. I did. I used to service several schools. I had a contract with the Monroe County municipality to do school trenching on school grounds. Not only did I have to be bonded for $2 million, I also had to have a completely clean record. You are not going to get a contract to work for the state of Florida on a school ground if you have any kind of history in regards to what is called a heinous crime. So I'm going to give you the name of this video, and you can On Time Backhoe digging coral for a Hess gas station in Key Largo. Now, aside from what I explained to you in regards to having the ability to work on public school grounds in Key Largo, Florida, here is, let me see if I can find the name here. Well, here I am doing the job. I think I have it right here. Let's see. And in order to do a commercial gas station in the state of Florida, you needed $1 million bond, number one. Number two, they did a search on the internet whether or not I completed jobs, if I had any uncompleted jobs. Never in all of my construction history, not even one time, did I ever have a complaint for an uncompleted job, or never did I ever take money, not complete the job on time. Never. I did a job in 1974 where the lumber came. I ordered some 2-inch tongue and groove longleaf yellow pine decking for a job. And the lumber was supposed to come in the morning. So we're talking about 1974. You want to go back that far? Have fun. And the lumber was paid for by the woman. And what happened is the lumber didn't come at 11 o'clock in the morning. And she got upset. She went to the 1974. 1974, if you think that that's going to make a difference in your little things that you do. Anyway, she made a complaint, and within hours, the lumber was delivered and the complaint was retracted. That was the only complaint I ever had in my entire life, and it was not due to me. It was because the lumber company promised her the lumber at 11 o'clock in the morning, and it came in the afternoon or the next day. It's hard to remember, but the complaint was retracted. So there you go. I admit that in 1974, a lumber order came late, a complaint was filed, and the complaint was retracted within 24 hours. This is what you little small-minded, feeble understanding of construction techniques and policies, this is what you got against Michael Fazio. That's all you got. That's the only singular complaint that was ever filed. Probably not even on record anymore. In 1974. So what does that make it? 46 years ago. 46 years ago, a complaint was made that the lumber didn't get there on time. And then I did the job the next day. So you feeble-minded people on YouTube that are looking for, that are your big researchers, you big researchers out there, big tough guy researchers. So let me show you, let me see if I got a picture of the backhoe. I do have a picture of it somewhere. Maybe I didn't take a, well, this is me. This is me on the backhoe, or in the picture of the backhoe. Let's just get you. It's the owner of the construction company that I subcontracted out in the green vest. All the cones, all the traffic detours were all my equipment. That's what I had to own. So you feeble-minded little men and women out there and bloggers that have never owned anything in your life, I own, not only did I own the backhoe, but I owned 3 different buckets for the backhoe and all the road barriers for the cab. But I'll let you guys watch this video, and I'm going to give you the name of the video and the link right now. I'll just get that up on the screen for you feeble-minded people that have never owned anything, that you have no accolades to back up your existence in the universe. Here is proof that I owned a backhoe and excavation company, and in this video you'll see me working in a gas station, but under either state or federal regulations, all my licensing had to be in order. I had to have, for this job, a $1 million bond. I also had to have a $1 million insurance policy. I had to have my license, my excavation license, up to date 90 days before I signed the contract. And I had to agree to do the job and wait 90 days to get paid. In fact, this job, I forgot to bill them. And they called me up like 4 months later, which was 120 days, and said, "Are you ever going to submit a final bill?" And I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll get right to that. I forgot about your job," because I had so many things going. And it was for a considerable amount of money. Not only did I do the excavation, but I did the removal of the spoil material, and I set up all the cones and the barriers. I rented those to the gas station for the 2 weeks I was there, because otherwise they would have had to rent them from a rental service. So I owned a heavy equipment company. Here's proof of the ownership company in Florida, to alleviate any of the small minds on YouTube that make commentary that I did not own an excavation company. But then we're going to go to the Barge in a minute. I don't even know if I did the on. Yeah, I gave you the on-time backhoe. Yeah, this is fun. This is fun, making you people look like the fools that you are for lying on YouTube, which is, I think is the name of the title. Are YouTubers liars? Are they just deceitful? Do they not understand English? Can they not do research? Because there are people out there that claim to do research on me. So here we go. The name of the company is link. I'm going to give you the link. On Time Backhoe, the Google. If you Google On Time Backhoe, here's what you're going to come up with. You're going to come up with an entire page on Time Backhoe and Bobcat Service Key Largo directions. And it will bring you to 31 North Channel Drive, which is the house that I owned and purchased and closed on June 2nd of 1999. So when you hear that I never owned a house in Key Largo, that, my friends, is not the truth. And I'm being very nice about this because I want you to present your mistruths, misspoken, half-lies, deceitful garbage on YouTube. I want you to keep posting those things so that when the time comes, I will give this also as proof that I owned a house in Key Largo and that you, in fact, are not telling the truth on YouTube. Now, I know damn well that you know I owned a house in Key Largo. If you don't, you do now. So I would suggest you retract that absurd video and make a formal apology. Now, if you don't do that, that's your prerogative. But I am proving that people on YouTube that have said I never owned an excavation company or a house in Key Largo, I am proving otherwise. So you have nowhere to go but to retract it and make an apology or look like a fool. Up to you. It's your prerogative. So let's give you the link for On Time Backhoe. Well, just go to On Time Backhoe Key Largo. Now, let's go. Let's see, where are we here? What did I give you so far? Oh my God. So let me also, now I'll just prove to you, I'm not going to give you the detail of the house. I'm not going to give that to you, but I will tell you that I have seen pictures on the internet and stories about when the house was bought, how much the house was worth, how much the house sold for, when the house sold. I got to tell you, I'm telling you now, a lot of that is not the truth. But you know what? I'm not going to give you the details. I'll make you look for that. I'll make you search the internet, but I'll give you my full name, Michael Thomas Fazio. And I'll give you the legal address of the house. 31 North Channel Drive, Key Largo, 33037. Now, I can prove I bought that house in 1999. I can prove the house was given back to the mortgage company with a caveat that I owned nothing. I didn't know back taxes. I didn't know back mortgage payments. There was no residual payments that had to be made. It was an even deal. The mortgage company said, we relieve you of all your fiduciary responsibilities. You owe us nothing, but we ask you to do something for us. And this was the strangest thing that was probably ever asked me. I wanted to move to the Philippines in 2012. I think I gave the house back to them in 2011. And I said, well, you're going to relieve me of the back mortgages and you're not going to come after me fiduciary wise. What would you like me to do for you? And this was all done in a legal office in Miami. It took 20 minutes. The man didn't mince words. He said, look, we'll alleviate all fiduciary responsibility, no matter, even if there were back taxes due on the property. but we ask you to do us a favor. I said, what is that? And he said, we would like you to stay in the house for at least a year. And you owe us nothing. We will not charge you a mortgage. We will not, you just pay electric and your water bill. You can live there rent free we would like you to stay until we sell the house. And I said, well, I want to move to the Philippines. This is going back in 2012. I want to move to the Philippines. It will give me some time to set up a warehouse in New York aside from my other house in New York. And I will do what you ask, but I will not guarantee much more than a year, which it turned out to be a year and a half. And even when Steve, who was the broker, who came to check the property and give me a check for a large amount of money for the maintenance that I did on the property and the cleanup so that they could sell the house at an auction in 2014, they paid me to stay in the house at the end of the day. They paid me to stay in the house rent-free. Because if you'll remember, there was a mortgage crisis, and the economy was crashed because of Mr. Obama, and the housing bubble was called. So not only did I stay in the house, but they paid me to stay in the house, and they gave me a big check at the end of the day when I left the house clean as a whistle. Now, you may have seen pictures from someone who might not have actually represented the truth. You may have seen pictures where the house was in slight disrepair. Well, I left the house in November of 2013. The house remained empty, unmarketable, and not sold until sometime, I think it was 2014. So for several months, the house was not kept. But that was not my problem. My concern was to get to the Philippines. My concern was no longer the house after 2012. So if you have heard stories where I never owned a house, I did own a house from the year 1999 until I signed it over to the mortgage company, back to a mortgage company in 2012. So anything you heard otherwise is not the truth. But the reason for this video, is to make other people that have lied about me think about trying to prove me to be a liar. It's just not going to happen. So let's go back to the great Scott Del Fuego wordsmithing. We did see something. Mustang Cobra. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. I bought a Mustang Cobra in 2001. I bought it for my birthday. A brand new 2001 Mustang Cobra. Ragtop. Silver. It was a metallic silver with a black rag top. Suede leather seats. And it had a 5.0 liter engine in it. And I think it was 340 horse naturally aspirated engine. It's a long time ago, but I think that's what it was. I owned that Cobra Mustang from September of 2001 until I think I sold it around September of 2011. So you great researchers out there. Now, if I had to, I do have in my possession. And if I have to bring this information to the authorities, I will bring this information to the authorities, that my registrations for my Cobra Mustang and my Ocean Racer were paid up until the days I sold them. Okay? So there's another half-truth, deceit, misspoken truth, lie, whatever you want to call it, debunked. And any researcher out there, now we do know some researchers that are going to go try to debunk this. You can't. It's not possible. I have the I actually have the registrations for the Cobra Mustang and the boat. And I also actually have the purchase papers from, I'm not going to show you the name of the, I just took these papers out this morning because I'm going to prove to the people of the world and YouTube and the liars and half-truth bloggers, I'm going to prove to you that in this envelope, this blue envelope, came out the papers of the sale of my house. So I have these in the Philippines. So if you think you're going to go around telling people that I never owned a house, it's going to backfire. Going to backfire. Inside this envelope, I took the papers out this morning and I looked at the dates. Now, I was going to show the dates to you, but I'm not. I'll let you guys sweat it out looking for the details. And whilst you're looking for the details, put the name Michael Thomas Fazio into your search box and find out what other properties I also had my name on in Key Largo and or Tavernier, Florida. Go ahead and look. Now, these are older purchases and partnerships that I had dating back to 2003. But you can find them if you're the great researchers that you think you are. But I'm not going to show you the papers. I'm going to let you guys sweat it out. And when the time comes, I'm going to take these papers and present them where they need to be presented. So there's another lie, half-truth, or intent or non-intentful deceit that I heard this week about me never owning the property known as 31 North Channel Drive, Key Largo, Florida. Another truth debunked. Another lie debunked. Not truth debunked. Another truth stated. Another lie debunked. You people out there in YouTube land that listen to this crap on YouTube, you people that believe some of the crap you hear on YouTube, when in fact, in all the years I've been on YouTube, nobody's ever proven me to be a liar. Now, I take personal offense to this a little bit, not so much, because when the time comes, I'm going to bury you in evidence that goes against public statements made against me in a public forum. I'm going to bury you in evidence. I'm going to show you the registrations for the Cobra Mustang. I'm going to show you the registrations for the boat. I'm going to show you the ownership papers for my house in Key Largo. I'm going to show you the licenses for my excavation company in Key Largo, Florida. I also have proof of ownership of Barge Dragon that I bought on May 15th of 1988 from Mike Wills in Traverse City, Michigan. I'm not going to give you the name of his business because Mike Wills is a very successful man. He doesn't need extraneous phone calls, but if need be, I have the original bill of sale from Mike Wills from May 15th of 1988. So I'm going to debunk that lie. And now, as far as the Cobra is concerned, you can look up Michael Thomas Fazio, 2001 Cobra Mustang. If you are this great researchers